I played Sons of the Forest for over 20 hours, and I'm going to help you decide whether it's worth buying or not. As your helicopter flies over an island, something hits your aircraft. As you cling on, you watch your two friends fall to their doom in the ocean, and your helicopter soon follows. You break out of the sinking helicopter and swim your way to shore to find that you are alone. Besides Kelvin, as you start to explore, you realize you just got yourself stranded on a cannibal-infested island that seems to have something supernatural going on. Let's take a look at everything this island has to offer. If you don't know, Sons of the Forest is a survival horror game made by the creators of The Forest. There are no missions, there are no directions, you just play. To start, the game is in early access. This means that technically the game is not complete, and developers plan to continue working on it. I'm going to be reviewing this game as if it is a finished game though. Let's start with some of the things that Sons of the Forest does right. First, the building in Sons of the Forest is unlike anything I've seen before. There are tons of ways to customize your builds and make them unique, and it overall feels very rewarding to build a cool structure. The other core mechanics of the game also feel very polished and fun. For instance, the combat. While fighting cannibals and hunting animals, there's a level of challenge that just keeps the game interesting. It's just not always as simple as point and click and the enemy dies. Sometimes while using a weapon like the bow, you have to slow down and really aim even without a crosshair. The movement also feels very smooth. I didn't find myself having trouble moving around ever. I felt the speed at which I was moving was just perfect. I didn't feel like I was too slow, and I also didn't feel like Usain Bolt. As you move through the world, you will notice that it is massive and looks beautiful. I ran the game on medium settings and got great FPS, and the world still looked amazing. When you crank the settings to max, it looks even better. Honestly, this may be the best forest environment that I've seen in a game. And now for my absolute favorite part of the game, Kelvin. I mentioned him earlier, and he is the only help you have as you start in Sons of the Forest. Kelvin is an AI companion that can help you complete whatever tasks you need while you go off and do whatever you want. This frees you up to do what you actually want to do, while Kelvin takes on the monotonous tasks. This overall is an awesome addition to the game. I think we may start seeing things like this in other games to come because everyone seems to be loving this system. And while all of these systems and mechanics are great, there are still some major issues that need to be ironed out. I enjoyed the systems and mechanics, but that doesn't mean that this is going to be easy to decide whether this game is worth buying. My first issue with Sons of the Forest is the current price. Currently, the game costs $29.99 US, and while this is less than your average AAA title, this price is still just a bit too steep for the amount of content. I slowly played through the game, learned the different mechanics and items, and after only 15 hours, I had already completed the main content. And I spent like half my time building up my base to look as cool as possible. And while this felt rewarding in the moment, you do soon realize that your cool base is really just there for aesthetic and doesn't really have much purpose. As you explore the forest environment, you can easily just set up a tent to sleep wherever you want with basically no risk. If they added some way for your base to actually matter to the gameplay, I think this could be a really incredible feature that would honestly make it stand out from most other games in this genre. So after realizing that my base was just a waste of time, I decided to really go out and explore the world. I was expecting a similar experience to other survival games. In most survival games, you can explore the world and experience endless content, and sadly, that is just not at all what I felt with Sons of the Forest. The world feels empty. There are only like 7 animals in the entire island, and other than the normal cannibals that you fight, there just isn't much else to see. So, with no reason to go explore the world and no reason to continue working on my base, it became pretty tedious to continue playing. The only thing left to do was to complete the story. With the lack of other content, I was really hoping that the game made up for this with an incredible story, but sadly that just was not the case. The storyline of the game was honestly just lackluster in about every way. I fully completed the game and paid attention the whole time, and I still don't exactly know what happened. I barely knew that I had even finished the game after I completed it. I sat on the edge of my seat waiting for intense moments, jump scares, difficult fights, but none of it happened. There wasn't even a single boss fight, and while normally this wouldn't be a big deal, I was really disappointed by this. I was expecting some sort of moment that would give me the satisfaction of beating the game, but it just never came. I literally had to Google to figure out if I had beat the story. And now for the worst part of the game. Everything else I've talked about has been bad, but maybe can be attributed to the game being in early access. This next issue is one of the worst I've seen in a while, and that is the overall UI design. The main problems here are the inventory and crafting layout, as well as the tutorial book. These are absolutely atrocious. The inventory is extremely confusing and not fun to use at all. You have to open up your pack and search for items that are just all over the place. And to craft new items, you need to go find all of them and click them to combine them in the center. This is the most mind-numbing process that I've seen in a game in a while. This absolutely has to be changed. I think the game was trying to make crafting more than just a click one button system, but this was not the way to do it. So we've talked about a lot: great building mechanics, innovative AI assistance, a lack of story, and tons of others. But this brings us to our final question. Is Sons of the Forest worth it? And sadly, I'm going to have to say at this moment, the game is a flop. It's not worth it. Nothing really makes the game feel special or playable past a couple days. The hype surrounding this game made it seem like it was going to be something extraordinary, but really it just seems overhyped. There is one saving grace though, and that is the fact that the game is still in early access. This game will continue to be updated and improved as time goes on, so we can hopefully expect that a lot of these issues will be addressed. I'm genuinely very interested in what others think of the game, so if you've played the game and are still watching at this point, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Sons of the Forest.